Live, local, now. This is Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23.
Good evening, everyone. A beautiful day to get out and enjoy the weather today. Looks like tomorrow is shaping up to be another nice day in the Heartland before the possibility of storms roll through the area. For all of the latest, let's check in with Grant. He's got your first alert tonight.
Watching very closely the severe weather threat for Wednesday. So let's jump right in it. Again, there are some indications we could see some tornadoes develop, especially in our far southern counties. The Boot Heel, northwestern Tennessee, and the extreme southern parts of western Kentucky are the areas I'm eyeing right now. The new data is coming into the Weather Center right now. We're going to analyze some of that, and we'll see what the newest threats are coming in. High winds and large hail will be with some of the storms as well, and of course, we've got that saturated ground out there. We can't take much more in the way of rain. I do think we'll see some isolated flooding threats as well. So officially right now, threat level 1 out of 5 for our northern counties, threat level 2 out of 5 for the central and southern counties, and our extreme southwestern counties are threat level 3 out of 5. My gut tells me, looking at stuff, I think this threat level 1 out of 5 is probably going to get squeezed to the south a little bit. This may stay right where it is, yellow, south. And this orange may be extended to include northwestern Tennessee. That's something we're watching closely. Again, it all depends on how the warm front sets up on Wednesday afternoon. Now, for the majority of the Heartland, we are dry right now, but guess what? I am watching a couple of thunderstorms right here. Yeah, we have seen some lightning with these. Earlier, this cell produced some pea-sized hail, and I talked about it at 6 o'clock that if it held together, it may make its way into the Mount Vernon area. And it's trying to. It'll go across the northern parts of Jefferson County here very, very shortly. We are not anticipating anything to become severe with this, but don't be surprised if you get a little bit of small hail because the atmosphere is very, very cold aloft. It's chilly in Mount Vernon, though, 48 degrees, but look at this temperature contrast, 48 Mount Vernon to 63 right now in Kennett. We'll track those storms using Futurecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
A young woman's disappearance leads to a homicide investigation stretching into 2 southern Illinois counties. Family members identified the victim as 19-year-old Mishalia Meredith. According to Illinois State Police, evidence found in a house led investigators to the discovery of a woman's body in rural Gallatin County, roughly 10 miles away. We spoke with a neighbor surprised by what she saw on Sunday.
I just know there was at least 10 to 15 officers out there. I'm not sure how many vehicles. You could not get through the street.
Meredith's family started a GoFundMe page to help pay for her funeral expenses. You can find a link to it when you search for this story in your KFVS News app. If you've been out and about, you probably noticed gas prices are slowly creeping up. The average price for a gallon of regular is now at $2.89 a gallon. Prices are now more than 70 cents higher a gallon since November. Industry analysts say higher crude oil costs and power outages that caused refineries in Texas to shut down last month are reasons for the price hike. According to Gas Buddy, gas prices in the Heartland range from $2.59 in Jackson, $2.54 in Poplar Bluff, and $2.95 in Marion, Illinois. 144 cities can possibly lose status as metropolitan areas, including the city of Cape Girardeau. A new proposal would double the population needed to be called a metropolitan statistical area. Currently, the minimum population is 50,000. The new requirement would be 100,000. John Maynor is the president and CEO of the Cape Girardeau Area Chamber of Commerce. He says projects often look for areas with high population sizes. This change can affect incoming business in the area.
A lot of things that because you are a city or you're in an MSA, you automatically make certain lists, and there are a lot of statistical, demographic information that is made about you that just happens.
Maynor says the decision for the change in core population count is not yet final. President Biden is celebrating the recent passage of his first major piece of legislation, the COVID-19 stimulus package, by taking a victory lap across the country this week. Ray Bogan has the latest on the president's plans.
Shots in arms and money in pockets. President Biden kicked off his week-long Help Is Here tour, touting the recently passed $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package.
It'll help hundreds of thousands of small businesses keep their doors open, which makes a gigantic difference in neighborhoods and communities.
It's a busy week for the president, vice president, and their spouses. Starting today, they're crisscrossing the country to promote the new law. Vice President Harris headed to Las Vegas, and Tuesday, President Biden will be in Pennsylvania.
To highlight how the rescue plan invests in small businesses, a key component of the package, including minority-owned businesses.
Support for the American Rescue Plan in Congress is divided along party lines. Not a single Republican voted in favor.
One of the worst pieces of legislation I've seen pass here in the time I've been in the Senate.
Democrats are already working on their next legislative proposal, infrastructure. Talk about additional spending comes as stimulus payments began rolling out this weekend.
The most significant federal recovery effort in decades is now underway.
Some banks are already sending their customers stimulus money. Chase and Wells Fargo say they'll start Wednesday. Ray Bogan, Fox News.
The pandemic not only transformed work and schools, but health care as well. Take, for example, kidney dialysis, typically done in a clinical setting. We caught up with a man from Paducah who's using an in-home dialysis. Lamont Williams says instead of going to the clinic 3 days a week for 5 hours, he gets to spend 5 days and 3 hours on a machine in the comfort of his living room. His care team at the kidney care area tells us this in-home dialysis is becoming more popular.
Better quality of life, you live longer, and there is a very high probability to get kidney transplant.
Wilson says even though his treatments are draining, he believes he has it under control.
That is a fast, tight rotation, and that's likely producing a tornado.
When you need to know first.
Folks, we're breaking in real quick. They've got a possible tornado that's on the ground right now.
Trust Grant Dade and the First Alert Weather Team.
It's going to be moving into Lake County here within the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Nobody warns you earlier. Nobody.
You need to be in your basement right now.
On air, online, on Facebook, and on your KFVS weather app.
This is headed your way.
Now more than ever, trust First Alert Weather.
A record-breaking blizzard slams the Denver area. Alicia Acuna has the latest.
A blizzard dumped more than 2 feet of snow this weekend in the Denver area. The National Weather Service says it's the 4th largest in the city's history. Folks across Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska are now digging out after the major winter storm left at least 24 inches of snow around Boulder and Fort Collins.
It gets real dangerous. Like these branches that are split off, kind of hanging over my trailer. I'm kind of scared about that because this snow's heavy.
Nearly 31 inches of snow got dumped on Cheyenne, breaking a 2-day total record there. Winter weather advisories are now in effect for parts of South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois as remnants of the blizzard head east. Travelers who managed to make it to Denver International Airport are sitting tight as the airport remains closed.
We made it to the airport and now we're stranded.
More than 2,000 flights have been canceled. Weather officials say the airport got hit with more than 27 inches of snow. Meanwhile, transit authorities also closed down roads and highways, with the Colorado Department of Transportation urging residents not to make unnecessary trips. The National Weather Service says what's left of the storm should reach the upper Midwest and lower Michigan by tonight. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
Well, tomorrow looking pretty decent around the Heartland, 47 or so at 7 o'clock. How about the mid to upper 60s with partly cloudy skies in the afternoon? A closer look at tomorrow and a look ahead to the possibility of storms coming up.
Tonight's weather is sponsored by ServPro.
Now, First Alert Weather with Grant Dade.
Well, the shower moving into northern Jefferson County, we showed you at the top of the show, is beginning to weaken just a bit as it continues to move off to the east. That's the only thing in our neck of the woods, and it'll be out of here in just a few minutes. So we'll get right into Futurecast, and we'll stop things at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning and talk. Well, we got a lot of pause points on this Futurecast. Maybe not tomorrow as much as we do Wednesday. Got a lot to talk about with how things could unfold. Now, These will be mainly high clouds tomorrow. Enough sun's energy comes in. A westerly wind, I think we get into the mid to upper 60s in most areas. There'll probably be a few spots that touch that 70-degree mark again tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night looks pretty quiet as well. And then we see how will this area of low pressure unfold. There's a couple of things that are going to be happening. One, there is the high likelihood that a lot of thunderstorms are going to develop to our south over Mississippi into Alabama. That will likely be severe and be taking a lot of the moisture that'll be trying to move back to the north out of our air. So that sometimes cuts back on the thunderstorm development. The first rounds of storms that you see here, mainly showers with heavy rain, maybe a little bit of lightning. Not expecting this activity to be severe. But what I want you to notice by the lunch hour, you see those strong southerly arrows, the winds coming out of the south, that indicate strong southerly winds just south of the heartland. That is the warm front. So the warm front slowly begins to move to the north. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's forecast to be right near the Kentucky border. So these storms south of the warm front could be severe. Strong gusty winds, hail, and even an isolated tornado or two. It's how far north does the warm front get before the main area of low pressure. This isn't the main storm system, but this is what's going to cause a lot of problems to our south and east. A lot of severe weather with this first complex of storms that moves through during the afternoon hours on Wednesday. And some of our southern counties could be impacted by that. Here's what could impact us later. The area of low pressure is going to get going. It's going to go right across parts of Missouri. That is favorable, at least puts us in a very favorable wind scenario for tornadoes to develop. What we need is energy at the surface to cause strong storms to develop. What most of our guidance is suggesting, these storms are developing north of the warm front, meaning the tornado threat's pretty much shut off, but it's close. So that's why it's very important that we watch the radars closely throughout Wednesday night and early Thursday morning, and two, that you have a way to get warnings. Weather app would be a great idea. Weather radio is a great idea. Have a way to get warnings because some of this could happen at night. Then as we head towards Thursday, wrap around moisture. Look at all this. The area of low pressure is located right here. Just some sprinkles. It'll be cooler as well. Not expecting much in the way of severe weather on your Thursday. So overnight tonight, lows dipping down the mid-40s north to the upper 40s south. We'll go through these numbers pretty quickly. Low to mid-60s north to low 70s far south for your afternoon highs on your Tuesday. And then there's Wednesday. We've talked a lot about that. We showed you that with Futurecast and Thursday. Let's get to some good news, why don't we? Well, Friday, little sprinkle not out of the question. There'll be a lot of clouds in the area, but right now it doesn't look like much in the way of precipitation. But check out this weekend. It's looking pretty decent. Now, we could have a light freeze in our northern counties on Saturday morning. So I just want to give you a first alert of that. We've had some warm temperatures the past few weeks. We may be seeing some freezing temperatures as we head towards Saturday morning. But Saturday afternoon is looking good, and Sunday afternoon is looking great.
Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23. A full hour of news and weather means the most complete forecast.
That's that first shot of cold air that's coming down.
Heartland News at 9 and Grant Dade have your most comprehensive look.
Your first warning on tomorrow's changing weather. Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23.
It's not only fans who are happy to return to ballparks, so are businesses. It's the case in Central Arizona, where half the Major League Baseball teams have spring training. Stephanie Bennett has more from Scottsdale.
This is our 8th year.
I've been a fan all my life, and you?
Since we've been married, I guess.
For Daryl and Joyce Beck, spring training is more than just baseball.
I can't wait to look on the ball field. I feel like a kid again. At 72, I feel like a child, and I love baseball with all my heart.
And just like them, thousands of others are happy to be back in the stands after the season was cut short in 2020 due to the pandemic.
We escaped the snow from Reno to come down here, get some sunshine. It's a fresh slate. We forget about last year, the troubles that we had, and look at the new beginnings, per se.
Spring training divides the country's top MLB teams in half, some going to the Grapefruit League in Florida, while 15 others travel to stadiums across central Arizona.
In 1955, we started spring training. So we've been going for 66 years.
Before the pandemic, the Cactus League would see almost 2 million fans spending on average $644 million per spring training season. Mayor Ortega says that generates about $2 million per game played at the Scottsdale Stadium alone. But when games were canceled last year, ticket, hotel, and restaurant sales struck out, losing millions in revenue.
You felt the bustle and everything, but then, you know, literally a week later, people were booked and flying out of town. It's part of our lifeblood here in Scottsdale. We know it's going to come back.
And things are coming back. Down the road, the Goldwater Brewing Company had to close for 6 months during the pandemic, but sales are pouring in again.
Without tourism, you know, it kind of directly affected our taproom and brewery here in Old Town Scottsdale. So with people coming back, it's been nice to see some out-of-towners, some annual regulars, we call them, that come back every year.
Spring training wraps up at the end of the month with baseball's opening day on April 1st. In Scottsdale, Arizona, Stephanie Bennett, Fox News.
Brazil's second wave has plunged the country into crisis once again, as 90% of ICUs are nearly full capacity because of the coronavirus. Officials say a shortage of vaccines as the spread of the dangerous variants are taking root in the country. Matt Rivers has more.
Pamela Ravipi can only look at the photos of her grandmother. She says watching the videos is too painful. The world didn't deserve my grandma, she says. She was too good. Admitted March 3rd with COVID at this small hospital outside Sao Paulo, she died just 2 days later. The facility quickly overrun by a new wave of COVID-19.
A gente pensa naquela família que tá sofrendo.
This doctor who works there says we think about the families that are suffering and we can't sleep. It is unbelievable.
This hospital just doesn't have the facilities to care for those who are really sick. Those patients would usually get transferred somewhere else, but right now there's nowhere else to go. So instead of getting transferred, they're dying.
In just 5 days last week, 12 patients died waiting for an open bed somewhere else, according to hospital officials. Pamela's grandmother was one of them. She thinks that she would have survived if treated in an ICU. But right now, access to those facilities is nearly impossible. Albert Einstein Hospital is one of Brazil's best, but here too, the rooms are full. They are scrambling to build more ICU beds because the patients just keep coming.
It's the most busy time we have ever been in this last year.
We first saw hints of this about 6 weeks ago when we reported from Manaus, a city in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. Hospitals there were overwhelmed amidst a new outbreak, and the city was forced to build so-called vertical graves. And from then to now, that chaos has spread nationwide. In 22 of 26 Brazilian states, ICU capacity is at or above 80%, government data shows. In Sao Paulo, it's 90% and climbing. And when you run out of beds, doctors tell us, people die.
The coffin is closed, so the family doesn't have the opportunity to say goodbye.
The number of such coffins is surging at the Sao Paulo Public Cemetery. From above, you can see the thousands of newly dug graves.
The number of burials, like the one going on behind me, have been staggering recently. Since the pandemic began, the 3 single days where Sao Paulo has recorded the most coronavirus deaths have come in just the last week.
Experts say the causes of the new surge are myriad: a more transmissible variant, few vaccines, relaxed lockdowns, and government mismanagement, all playing varying roles. But no matter the cause, these are the effects. Outside this public hospital, every day between 3 and 5 p.m., family members of COVID patients inside wait to hear their names. They go in to get news on conditions. And often, it's not good. And then comes the grief and the tears wrought from a pandemic that just won't end. Matt Rivers, CNN, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Live, local, now. You're watching Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23.
A group of Republican lawmakers traveled from D.C. to the U.S.-Mexico border to draw attention to what they call a crisis, but the Biden administration says they have it under control and have brought in FEMA to help. Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
A group of congressional Republicans are hoping their trip to the U.S.-Mexico border will draw the attention of the White House. Customs and Border Protection has reported a surge in migrants attempting to cross into the U.S. Thousands of them are children.
This is a human heartbreak. The sad part about all of this, it didn't have to happen.
The Republicans say this situation has become a crisis, and they allege the Biden administration won't admit it.
We recognize this is a big problem. The last administration left us a dismantled and unworkable system, and like any other problem, we are going to do everything we can to solve it.
FEMA has been called in by the administration to help handle the influx of migrant children.
FEMA is there to help ensure that the people who are at the border, who are coming across the border, have access to HHS and ORR shelters.
According to a memo, the Dallas Convention Center will be used to house thousands of migrant teenagers over the next 90 days. The Republicans allege the Biden administration has caused a human tragedy by relaxing the last administration's immigration policies.
There is indeed disorder at the border by executive order.
And they say President Biden has given the migrants false hope and has left them susceptible to human trafficking.
This crisis is created by the presidential policies of this new administration. There's no other way to claim it than a Biden border crisis.
The Republican delegation says they have been told by border officers that some of the migrants are not even from Central America, but instead from the Middle East, Sri Lanka, and Haiti. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
ATMs are diversifying. In some states, the popular automatic teller machines are now giving consumers the opportunity to buy and sell digital currency, and some of them also dispense cash. The Bitcoin machines have been popping up at locations. The interest in Bitcoin has spiked following a frenzy in crypto trading that sent Bitcoin prices over $58,000, and the coronavirus pandemic has played a role too.
What we've seen actually is that COVID has been a massive accelerant for the business. If anything, you have a lot of stores like this one where they already have a great location and fixed costs, and they're looking for value-added services to bring in foot traffic and earn every extra dollar they can to keep their business afloat.
As of January, there were more than 28,000 Bitcoin ATMs in the United States. Well, check this out. China's capital looks like the set of a post-apocalyptic film thanks to a massive sandstorm. Sand and dust have overtaken Beijing, turning the sky an eerie shade of orange and obscuring buildings. The city of 21.7 million people has long battled pollution, but the sandstorm set off air quality alarm bells. This sandstorm originated in Mongolia.
Well, your school day planner for tomorrow, not a bad day. Take a look at this. Headed out to the bus stop in the morning. Pretty comfortable temperatures, mid to upper 40s out there. A few clouds. We should be on the dry side. By the lunch hour, popping up into the low 60s in many areas, maybe even some middle 60s out there. Take a look. 65 Paducah, 65 Union City, and in Kennett. And as we head home tomorrow, look at these numbers. We're talking about low 60s far north to close to 70 far south and west. It's going to be a quiet, mild day tomorrow. Things change as we head towards Wednesday. More on that coming up.
A mother and two of her kids were killed in a crash in Texas. Officials say a woman was stopped at a light when she was struck from behind by a suspected drunk driver. The crash pushed her car into the vehicle in front of it, and it ultimately resulted in a 7-vehicle pileup. Her car also caught fire.
Basically a 7-vehicle crash. The mother was deceased at the scene. A 7-month-old baby was deceased at the scene, and a 5-year-old child was also deceased at the scene. There was a 2-year-old that was life-flighted to Herman Hospital downtown.
That 2-year-old's on life support. Investigators say the suspect, believed to have caused the crash, had a blood alcohol level nearly twice the legal limit. He was taken to the hospital with some bumps and bruises. So far, 9 jurors have been seated in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd. This as the second week of jury selection gets underway. Matt Finn is in Minneapolis with the story.
The attorney defending Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in George Floyd's death, says he's gravely concerned last week's announcement of a $27 million settlement between the city of Minneapolis and Floyd's family makes it impossible for his client to get a fair trial and possibly taints the jury pool.
The fact that this came in the exact middle of jury selection, it's perplexing to me, Your Honor.
Defense attorney Eric Nelson also asked the judge to delay the trial and raise the possibility of a change of venue.
And I wish people would, city officials would stop talking about this case so much, but at the same time, I don't find any evil intent that they are trying to tamper with this criminal case.
The judge says he'll recall the 7 selected jurors last week and question them about their knowledge of the settlement, even though he ordered them not to follow or do any research on the case. Prosecutor Steve Schleicher says those previously picked jurors already agreed to make their decisions in the case based solely on what they're hearing during the trial. Meanwhile, week 2 of jury selection got underway. The first juror questioned said she heard about that $27 million settlement.
When I heard that, I almost gasped the amount.
That potential juror told the court she did not know if she could ignore what she heard and was immediately excused. There's been a series of unusual developments and twists and turns so far in this case, but the judge is insisting opening arguments will begin on March 29th. In Minneapolis, Matt Finn, Fox News.
A full hour of news, weather, and sports. Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23.
Now, Heartland Sports with Adam King.
It is game week. For the first time in more than 400 days, high school football teams across Illinois can scream just that. Friday night is the kickoff to the 6-week football season that many didn't think would ever happen. For Carterville, that season opens Saturday against Anna Jonesboro. Shout out to our photog Nolan. We've got the camera on the Lions practice today. Now, just like basketball, there's no postseason. But as we saw with basketball, still a lot on the line with conference championships and so much to play for. And well, then there's just the excitement that, well, being back on the field brings.
I woke up, really this morning, I kind of had that nervous game day feeling, and we're still 6 days away. Just kind of it's a game week, and it's just been so long, and you just want to make sure we've got everything covered, and we just had to, we're going to try to make this the best experience over the next 6 weeks as possible, and do everything to make it meaningful for them, something they can remember, and hopefully we have a little fun, a little success along the way.
In Missouri now, the celebration is on because spring sports are finally back. No 2020 season, but the 2021 season gets going this Friday with a ton of softball and baseball games across the state. Also, girls soccer getting underway in just a few days. We didn't have iPads the last time SIU was a top 5 team. It's been 11 years. That streak is over now. SIU officially putting the college football world on notice. The Salukis coming in at number 5 in the country in this week's poll, coming off a huge win this past weekend over then number 4, Northern Iowa. Salukis have 2 great wins. The number 1 North Dakota State win will not be beaten this year as the best win in the country, and now the Northern Iowa game. But there's no rest for SIU because they're back at it yet again against a top 6 team when South Dakota State comes to Saluki Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, they should, and that's okay to feel like that. If you don't feel like you belong or call yourself a big fish or whatever you want to do, I mean, that's the vision. That's what we talk about off season. That's why you do all these things. Not only to play in these big games, but to win them. The goal is to win the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. And so if you don't feel like you are that personally and as a team, then like I said before, like when we've played these guys, then you probably picked the wrong program.
stay with rankings, and Dean Hood is doing something with Murray State. The Racers, well, you see the pick six, the first score on Saturday. They scored 30 more and took down Tennessee Tech, and with that, they earned themselves a ranking for the first time since 2011. Murray coming in at number 25 in the country. They sit in first place, well, a tie for first place with number 8 Jacksonville State in the OVC. They are going to try to keep that undefeated streak going this week and keep their climb going. We've all had 24 hours to fill out our brackets and rip them up 4 or 5 times. One game that a lot of people are saying is a toss-up is Mizzou. The Tigers are in Indianapolis right now, along with many other teams bubbling up and getting ready for their game. But, well, you just wonder with this Tigers team. Grant put it in an interesting way earlier. Oklahoma is really a lot better than an 8 seed, and Mizzou might be better than a 9 seed. So what you get is 2 good teams that had great moments in the season, both at one point in the conversation for a 2 seed, now battling it out in Indianapolis. We'll have your coverage all week of March Madness. For right now, though, we'll be right back.
Davis.
Oh my God.
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 Oh my God. Oh my God.
Weeknights at 11:30 on Fox 23.
Get your first look at tomorrow's forecast. Heartland News at 9 on Fox 23.
Now, First Alert Weather with Grant Dade.
All right, pretty quiet conditions across our area. We did have that one thunderstorm that weekend as it moved into Jefferson County. It's moving into Wayne County, Illinois now. We're saying goodbye to it. It's going to be pretty quiet, I think, the rest of the night. And let's see if Futurecast agrees with us. It does. But we got a lot to talk about as we head throughout time. Now, tomorrow's looking good. We got a few clouds out there. They'll mainly be the high clouds. There'll be some breaks in the clouds. Enough of the sun's energy. It'll warm us up. Going to be a pretty nice day across the Heartland tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we start to watch the evolution of a warm front to our south and a low pressure out to our southwest. The low pressure is forecast to track kind of pretty much right across the I-44 corridor. That puts us in a very favorable position for tornado development when you look at the wind profile of the atmosphere. The one thing going against us is we need some low-level moisture to get in. We need it a little more muggy than what a lot of the models are showing. So hopefully the mugginess stays to the south because the wind energy is very impressive. Scattered showers moving through early, and then we'll start to see some scattered storms develop during the afternoon hours. The warm front Futurecast is depicting down to the south. You can see these very strong southerly winds, and you can see these easterly winds right just to the north, basically, of those southerly winds. That tells us the warmer air is surging north. Now, this is something that doesn't look all that great. We've got winds converging together, east-southeasterly winds. That tells us that some of these storms from Murray to Union City, Mayfield, over towards, let's say, East Prairie, New Madrid, Caruthersville, all these areas could be dealing with a round of severe weather if the radar looks like what Futurecast is showing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And those storms could continue to march off to the east and northeast. Then we sit and wait. Does the atmosphere re-energize? Do we get another surge of moisture out ahead of this next round of storms? You can kind of see those arrows coming out of the southeast. Not as many, but they're there. But we also have some northeasterly winds in our northern counties. That tells us the warm front is trying to set up shop right about here. And again, it's south of the warm front where we could see an isolated tornado, some damaging wind gusts. And notice most of the storms, at least on Futurecast at this time, are developing to the north of the warm front, which would shut off the greatest severe weather threat. But it's close enough to where we're going to watch it very closely. And then we'll see some blustery conditions on your Thursday. Look at all those winds. Area low pressure, very easy to see. Winds flow counterclockwise around an area low pressure. And boy, this just shows you those counterclockwise winds around that area of low pressure on Thursday. So tomorrow, mid to upper 40s for the most part as you wake up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon looking pretty good. Mid to upper 60s across southern Illinois. Could see some lower 70s. Murray to Union City, Poplar Bluff and Cape Girardeau 69. We'll probably see a couple of spots spit out a 70-degree temperature across southeast Missouri as well. 66 on Wednesday. Could be a little warmer than that in our southern counties. 57 on Thursday, a little bit blustery. You saw those winds moving around that area, low pressure. A little blustery on Friday as well. We'll probably remain on the dry side though, but there'll be a couple of clouds, so we'll stick in a 10% chance of a sprinkle. And then the weekend right now looking pretty decent. We could see a light freeze on Saturday morning, but otherwise those temperatures look pretty nice, especially in the afternoon.
A Wisconsin mayor is pushing to get a statue of RoboCop moved to his city. He's a fan of the film franchise, and more significantly, the movie has a connection to the city. Brittany Slaughter reports.
Detroit-based artist's Imagination Station just completed the statue, but its home is to be determined. Enter Stevens Point Mayor Mike Wiesa.
I reached out. I started talking to people and trying to figure out who do I talk to say, hey, bring it to Stevens Point. We'd love to have a statue of RoboCop in Peter Weller's hometown, and of course, social media blew up on it.
May not be that easy. The artists who created the sculpture are working to keep it in Detroit and are closing in on a deal.
Now, they didn't say it was a done deal, so we're still there's still a little bit of hope that the artists will see the significance of having this statue in Peter Weller's hometown.
Should the statue stay where it currently is, the mayor has alternatives in mind. Options include 3D printing a statue or reusing grocery bags to create the sculpture using recycled materials.
I've been working with Greg Wright over at Create Portage County, and if this one doesn't work out, I think we might have another opportunity to do something, in my opinion, even cooler.
As much as they hope to obtain the original statue, they told me creating one would be fun for the community.
We think it'd be fun to rally the community around trying to build our own. And so we have some equipment at the Idea Center that we can use to do that, and a couple of different strategies we think we could take to make something.
The Women's National Basketball Association is getting a new official game ball ahead of its 25th season. Wilson Sporting Goods has unveiled the white and orange Evo NXT. It's made from 100% composite leather and features an enhanced grip and a soft moisture minimizing feel. The ball will be sold on Wilson's website starting May 3rd and the WNBA website starting May 17th. If you like to choose vacation spots based on how much purple they have, these South Korean islands are for you. From the plants and signs to the walking bridges, everything seems to be different shades of purple. At South Korea's Purple Islands, restaurants even serve purple food on purple plates. People do live there, but they've become a major tourist attraction. Tourists are drawn to the islands because of the boy band BTS and its I Purple You slogan.
I'm a big BTS fan, so there's many places around Korea that I wanted to visit because of the connection with BTS. And this was one place that I had seen online, and I thought it was so beautiful and wanted to come.
Many of the locals on the island are older, and they say they enjoyed the tourists bringing youthful energy to the island.
It's a new morning in the Heartland.
You might need a light jacket if you're heading out.
Kids are in school. Folks are heading to work. You're adapting, adjusting, overcoming. Now more than ever, we invite you to start your day with The Breakfast Show.
We are following several news stories this morning. You'll always get the latest breaking news from overnight.
First alert weather to plan your day.
And the information you need to start your morning right. Keep that in mind as you head out the door this morning.
Live, local, now. The Breakfast Show. Only on KFVS 12.
A beekeeper is looking to educate the masses about bees, and she's not just using her head, she's using her hands. Jeremy Roth has tonight's Take a Look at This.
This Texas woman's barehanded bee handling has the internet buzzing. Beekeeper Erica Thompson is on a mission to save her pollinator pals. The founder of Texas Bee Works offers for-hire bee harvesting and removal, as well as education about these important insects. But it's the fact that Thompson often doesn't wear any protective gear when handling bees that's made her a social media star. And that star status is helping her spread her message.
Most honeybees don't want to sting you. So I hope that, by
by people watching these videos. Maybe they can look at bees a different way.
Thompson hopes to encourage others to get involved in protecting bees by dispelling their sting-happy stigma and getting right to the point.
They're vital to our existence and to our ecosystem.
Some folks in Massachusetts were buzzing after they got a surprise concert from a music legend while receiving COVID-19 vaccinations. World-renowned cellist Yo-Yo Ma gave a mini performance at Berkshire Community College after receiving his second round of a vaccine. He was caught on camera performing during his post-shot observation period. The scene was exactly 1 year to the day since the cellist began a trend on social media, sharing special pandemic recordings using the hashtag Songs of Comfort. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
That's it for us, everyone. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.